Erev Tov Rosh Pina. Good morning in Phoenix. Yeah, we know you have a lot of attention there today, but so do we. My name is Wayne Firestone. I'm here on behalf of our whole team at America-Israel Friendship League, and it's a super Sunday for us every Sunday. Okay, it's even more super today for some as well. Let's give it some love. This is the week of love, right? Coming up on Tuesday. So put something in the chat that is making your Sunday super. It could be, sports. It could be art and culture. It could be plans for Tuesday and Valentine's Day. It could be whatever is making you feel good. Put it in the chat. We've got people today. Herzliya, Netanya, Connecticut, San Francisco, Carlo in Kuwait, Long Island, Chicago, Illinois, Hartford, Connecticut, New Rochelle, New York. Hey, everybody is here because they love art. They love Sundays. Well, it's the beginning of the week, the end of the week, depending on how you look at it. But we're happy you're here with us. We are so glad to introduce some of you and reintroduce others of you to an incredible treasure in Israel. And we have so much treasure, we can't do it all in one episode. So spoiler alert, this is a two-part series. We're going to bring you back in April. This is an introduction and a teaser of sorts, because the Mishkan Museum of Art, when we learned about from all these wonderful faces you're seeing, we've got a panel, we've got a whole gang. We've got Tanya with her hat. She's the magician. She's going to pull out some digital tricks for you to see what you can only see, really, especially in person at the museum. So I'm going to turn over to the director of the museum, Orit Lev Segev. She's going to introduce to you some of their work, some of the collections, some of the history, some of the personality of the museum and the personalities on the panel. And we hope we'll be able to get in a little bit of Q&A as well. But remember, two parts, whatever we can't cover today, we promise we'll add it in as part of our next episode as well in April. So Orit, I'm turning over to you. I know you've been excited for this virtual opening. So tell us about what we're going to see today and tell us about Mishkan.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. It's incredible being here with you. Whoa, you are enthusiastic, man. Yes, so first and foremost, I would like to thank you, Wayne, and thank Cassia, and Ruby, and Raquel for the important role you are doing to reveal the hidden charm of Israel. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to be here today with my team and to walk you through a very special journey to Mishkan Museum of Art Ein Harod, one of the top art museums in Israel. And this is not me to say, guys. This is the New York Times a few years ago that dedicated full article about the Mishkan and its incredible and unique architectural values. Haaretz newspaper just a few months ago named the Mishkan the most beautiful museum in Israel. And it's not only because of the aesthetics, the aesthetics aspects, but the important role the Mishkan played in the creation of the cultural field in Eretz Israel and forward. Today, with 10 annual exhibitions, 75,000 visitors and 15,000 students, I can tell you that the miracle is continue today as well. So, as we said, the Mishkan is the first art museum that was built, no, not the art museum, the first museum that was built in Israel, one of the first modernist museums globally that was based entirely on the sunlight. The Mishkan was established in 1938 by the first kibbutz, Ein Harod, where the Zionism was born in an extremely difficult times. Our fathers, the pioneers, had a strong sense of social mission that in order to build a new nation, cultural and art are essential. And for me, this is the true meaning of beauty. We strive to be home for the finest Israeli art and the heart of the community. We are determined to contribute to the human flourishing of the individual and society. Our location at the north of Israel, which combine the mosaic of Israel's society with the same proportion of Jewish and Arabs, is ranked 5 out of 10 in the Israeli official socioeconomics index. Our mission is to bring the highest quality of culture and art to the kids who live here, to connect between diverse population, to be a pluralistic in the most pure sense, a cultural bridge. To see young kids, Jewish and Arab, sit together, find common base in our gallery through the art, and most important, stop afraid of each other. Or to see a teenager from a drug rehab shelter nearby stand in front of an 8-meter wide work of art of Amit Kabesa and swear to himself that he won't fall into it again. Sorry, it's moved me. This is what makes us so special. This is a tremendous, tremendous challenge, yet a huge privilege. So let's stop talking and see a short movie, very short movie about the Mishkan.
יצירות אומנות מהאוספים החשובים בעולם של אומנות יהודית וישראלית. זה המשכן לאומנות. תנסה לדמיין מה היה בתקופה הזאת. איזה מצב ביטחוני וכלכלי היום הם התמודדו. בקיץ, באותו קיץ, למעלה מ-200 אנשים מתו. השדות הוצתו ונשרפו. עם השלטון הבריטי, המתח הלך וגבר. תנועת הרכבות נעצרה. הם היו נצורים. ובתוך זה, גליה בר-אור מלמדת אותנו, שבתקציב השנתי מופיע רכישת יצירות למשכן לאומנות. עכשיו, אני לא יודעת להבין, אין לי מושג כמה זה היה 5 לירות. אני רק יודעת שזאת לא רק הייתה החלטה פיננסית כלכלית, זאת הייתה החלטה ערכית, נורמטיבית, ששיקפה תפיסת עולם יסודית. חיינו מחייבים אומנות.
עין חרוד היא באמת מקרה יוצא דופן. עצם זה שיש לאומן לגיטימציה בתוך החברה, להיות פרודוקטיבי כאומן. זאת אומרת, לתפקיד שלו יש משמעות. הוא לא חייב להיות רפתן, ורק בסוף היום ללכת לצייר אם יש לו זמן, ואם הוא צייר, אז עדיף כבר שיצייר את השדות, או את הסביבה, או את החלוצים, מה שאנחנו קוראים לאומנות המגויסת. המקרה של אתר וקיבוץ עין חרוד הוא באמת יוצא דופן וחריג. אחרי מלחמת העולם השנייה, אחרי שגם אתר ורוב האנשים של עין חרוד איבדו את המשפחות שלהם שם באירופה, ואחרי כל האסון הנוראי הזה שקרה לעם היהודי, הוא מתחיל להביא לפה, לארץ, לשמר את התרבות הזאת שניסו להכחיד אותה לחלוטין.
לספר את הסיפור של המוזיאון, או להראות תערוכה של תסוגת קבע של האוסף, אז השאלה הראשונה היא, מהו האוסף? מה הייחוד שלו? מה המשמעות שלו? מה האופי שלו? מה האיכות שלו? ואיך אנחנו מראים את זה?
שהיה ויכוח
לבנות חדר אוכל או להוסיף קטע למוזיאון, המוזיאון ניצח.
אנחנו למשל היום מחזיקים באוסף הכי גדול של אומנים יהודים פולנים, הכי גדול בעולם, משכן לאומנות בעין חרוד.
אני חושבת שהמוזיאון זה התכשיט שלנו, של הקיבוצים ולא רק של הקיבוצים.
And now Yaniv, our chief curator, please.
Okay, thank you, Orit, thank you, Wayne, and thank you everyone for being with us. My name is Yaniv Shapira, I'm chief curator in the museum. I'm a kibbutz member where I was also born in the northern part of Israel. I studied art history and Jewish philosophy, and when finishing my studies, I found the Mishkan Museum of Art is the perfect place to express myself, understanding the role and the power of a work of art, of an exhibition, of a museum as an institution to shape society, reality, culture, local culture, and that's why I'm here. I would like to introduce you now to the museum collection and to the permanent display of the collection which we have in the museum, and to show you in what way it's so unique for us and the way we want to show it. Well, the Mishkan Museum of Art collection has more than 20,000 items, painting, sculpture, photography, works on paper, and Judaica. And what makes it so unique is that from one hand, we have works of Jewish artists from the mid of the 19th century until the mid of the 20th century. Artists worked in the most important centers of Jewish art and studied in the most important academies of art. And on the other hand, pre-Israeli and Israeli art from 1948 and on, from the establishment of the State of Israel. And so the building up the permanent display was a huge challenge to understand what we want to show, what story do we want to tell, in what way these two opposites, Jewish art and Israeli art, which we have in our museum, is different than what any other museum has. And so on one hand, you can think it's two opposites. We wanted to show the way they work together in a very organic way. For example, the Jewish shtetl and kibbutz life. For example, the revolutionary in Jewish art and the way contemporary Jewish art is so different than what we used to see. So now we see in front of us the exhibition. And if I would choose one work of art to express this power, this excitement, this meaningful of art, I would choose for the work of Max Fabian, a German Jewish artist. And actually, Fabian is one of the only artists in the collection that was born and died in the same place in Berlin. This is very unique since we know of the movement of Jewish people during the 19th and 20th century. Now we look at this painting, which is called Refugees. And what we see in front of us is the most stereotype of a Jewish man, of a Jewish family. This painting was painted in 1902. Look at the father, look at his black coat, his hat, his beard, the way he's bent. Look at the sack he's putting on his back. We can only imagine what he has in this sack. Perhaps a chumash, candlesticks, loaf of bread, maybe some clothes. He's a refugee. Look at the mother holding a child, and we can definitely see the influence of Christian art. She looks like Maria. Well, in those days, there was no state of Israel, and all of the artists studied in the best academies in Europe. But then look at the child on the bottom right of the painting. If the father is looking forward to an unknown future like a refugee, well, the child wearing a hat, a scarf, an umbrella, you could see is coming from a bourgeois family. He is looking back to what they left behind, to what perhaps he will never go back to. Now, why is this painting so important for us once we choose to show it in our collection? We stand in front of it, people, children of all ages, and it reminds us that once we, the Jewish people, we were refugees. Today, it's others, perhaps the Ukrainian people or others, and tomorrow, you never know. Understanding the power and the meaning of art to remind us who we are, where we came from, and where we are headed, is the very important Jewish saying. So this is only one painting out of around 50 paintings we have in this display. Now, Wayne, I know you wanted to ask me a question about.
Well, if you have 50 pieces of art and you have in your collection, I understand, 20,000 items, how does one whittle down to the correct 50 paintings to pieces of art that are going to be representative of such a vast collection?
Well, so yeah, this was a great challenge, I must say. I had to spend weeks in the storages of the museum, viewing all the works and trying to understand what makes this collection so unique. And we have to understand the museum that was founded in 1938, which means the move from then until now was very organic. And in order to choose what we in the museum, what story do we want to say in the permanent collection, it must have a meaning. So I understood I have to divide the collection into different topics, different subjects. And once we were talking about it in the staff, we decided to divide the collection into three main subjects. I would say kibbutz art, Jewish art, and Israeli art. And once you have these three topics, you start to work. And so the exhibition is divided into three rooms, and it tells a few stories. It tells the story of the kibbutz, the community, Zionism, pioneering, and the utopia of the state of Israel. It tells a story of the kibbutz. It tells a story of the Jewish settlement. It tells the story of the state of Israel. And it tells also the story of the Jewish life in the last 150 years. It's like you throw a stone in the river and then it echoes and opens. But then again, it all starts with a human being, with a place of man in the world. And this is what you see in most of the works in the collection, like we see right now in front of our eyes. And just one last note before I hand the stick to Dvora. This is the permanent collection, so it's on an ongoing exhibition. But I must say that next to it, we have also changing exhibitions in the museum all the time, about 5 to 8 exhibitions each year, groundbreaking exhibitions, which are dealing with art history, the diversity of the Israeli society. And at the moment, we have perhaps the most talkable exhibition in Israel, The Spirit of Man, the spirit of place, the Abu Shakra family in Ein Harod. And I must say that this exhibition is a real statement for us, and it shows our vision about the role and the function of a museum in society, in reality, being all the time aware of what is happening outside the museum and reflecting into the museum. And as you mentioned, on the 2nd of April, we're going to have another webinar with you all about this unique, groundbreaking exhibition. And you are all very welcome to join us then. And I'm very happy now to hand the stick to Dvorah Lis, who is the curator of the Judaica wing in our wonderful museum. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaniv. Thank you for that intro. So yeah, my name is Dvorah, and I'm a New Yorker originally, and I came to Israel in 1984. And I was very Zionistic, very idealistic, every istic that you can imagine. And I was coming to work the land and to do great things. And we came to a kibbutz in Emek Beit Shan, and I worked in the cows, milking morning, afternoon, evening. But I had studied art history in the United States, and that was like kind of on a back burner. And one day someone invited me to come see the museum in Ein Harod. It was a 20-minute drive. And I could not believe that I was living like in Nowheresville. I mean, we're in the north in Israel. It's not near the main cities of Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. We're like nowhere. How could there be such an amazing museum? And at that point, I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll volunteer. I'll figure it out. But I'm going to work in this place. And 30 some odd years later, I'm still here and still loving being in a gem, a real gem on many different levels. And so I'm going to, this is the Judaica wing, where we show Judaica objects that we have in the collection that have been collected over the years. And there are typical Judaica items that you would see in any Jewish museum, things, ritual items of Shabbat, of the Chagim, of Torah ornaments. But about 10 years ago, I decided, since not a lot of people were entering my side of the museum, that we would show pieces, Judaica items from the 19th and early 20th century, side by side with contemporary art that everybody really was interested in. And there would be some kind of dialogue between these works and the contemporary works. And I think that it worked, and we've shown many, many shows since then. Right now, what you're seeing now, we're in the show of The Unbroken Thread. And it's really talking about the textile collection in the museum, the Judaica textiles. And so we went into the textiles. And what textiles do we have in Judaica? We have Torah mantles, the Torah covers, and we have a Torah curtain. We actually have about 15 Torah curtains. And we chose this special Torah curtain that I'm going to talk a little about. Here we are. Okay, thank you, Tanya, for showing me that. If you just stay with me on that curtain. Okay, don't move. Okay. And then I'll talk about the contemporary pieces. So this Torah curtain, we really hadn't looked at it many years. It was rolled up. And once we started opening it, I felt like I was, swimming inside this object. I know so much about it today. Well, first of all, a Torah curtain. What is a Torah curtain? A Torah curtain is the curtain that is in front of the Torah ark, which is where everybody, all the congregation is looking at. And the ark has the Torah scrolls that are going to be read in the prayer, in the synagogue, in the whole ritual. So the Torah curtain really just separates everybody from these holy objects that are behind it. So this Torah curtain is a very typical Torah curtain in Ashkenazi communities, the European communities. So you have two lions, and you have the crown, and those are typical things. And these lions are actually Bavarian lions. This curtain is from a city named Würzburg. And what's so interesting about these objects is that I don't have to guess or look, or it just says it on the actual object. It says where it's from. And that's what's so amazing, is these objects were donated by families, by people. It was a special gift to the synagogue. And so it's a whole emotional kind of experience of going into this curtain. Who were these people? And because of the internet, which is really an amazing, amazing tool for any researcher, as opposed to years ago, I could find out about anything about these objects because there are archives in all these cities and people are so wonderful. They want to talk to me and they want to tell me. And so I was Googling back and forth with the archives of the city of Würzburg in Germany, and they were wonderful. And they gave me tons and tons of information about this community. And I actually found the family. So the name of the man who donated the curtain, his name was Asher Rosenblatt from this family. And he donated it to the synagogue. And if I can get back to now, Tanya's showing you pictures of the synagogue, which is that's not my Torah curtain. I'll tell you why. If we can get back to the actual curtain. So we know who it's from. We actually know the year. It was from 1881. And I started following, trying to figure out who was this family. Well, they were in the hop business. They made beer. So they were a family that had, they were, substantial. They had money. They were feeling good. They actually bought a house at some point. I really know a lot about them. They had 10 kids. I know every single name of the children, and I know when they were born. And I know that on the 10th child, whose name is Joanna, when she was born in 1881. And I was like, oh my God, this Torah curtain is from 1881. So he must have given this as a gift to the synagogue. 10 kids, beautiful family, beautiful job. Thank you. Thank you for the community. And in the little verse that he has on the bottom, Katonti mikol chasadim, it's a beautiful, beautiful verse that Jacob says in the book of Genesis. And he says to God, listen, he really needed his help when he was about to meet his brother, which we know could always be problematic. And he says, Katonti mikol, I am small. I really don't deserve any other favors, but could you just kind of help me out in this? And that's what he writes. It's such a beautiful, beautiful verse that this man, the 10th child is born, he gives it to the synagogue. So that's the great story about Würzburg. Now I'm back and forth with the archives, and they keep saying to me, but it doesn't make any sense that you would have a curtain from Würzburg, because in 2019, there was this huge exhibition, which was tons of research, and it was clear that there were no more curtains, no more textiles left in Würzburg because they were all burned in Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht, November 1938. Okay, the Nazis came into the synagogues in Germany, and they destroyed many synagogues, and they also burned the whole interiors of the synagogue. This Würzburg synagogue, which is the biggest synagogue in Würzburg, was burned totally inside, but the synagogue wasn't destroyed because it was sandwiched between other buildings that they did not want to destroy. And so it doesn't make any sense. And they had 7 crates, all these things that remained in Würzburg, but it could not be that we had textiles. And so I started really thinking, why do I have this textile? How could it's not burned. How could it have survived that fire? And so I really started getting into this whole family and thinking to myself in my own personal life and thinking, a Torah curtain, this Torah curtain is from 1881. Well, we're now in 1938. So it's old, and it's going to be tattered, and it's going to be, even in my synagogue, we have a wedding. So we have a different Torah curtain, and we have a bar mitzvah, we have another Torah curtain, and we have different holidays. We have Torah curtains for every single, because everybody wants to donate a Torah curtain, and so we have a lot of them. So this is a huge synagogue. This Torah curtain was in an archive. This Torah curtain was stored somewhere else. It was not stored. It was not there where you see the synagogue. It wasn't there because it was old. And so then I went back into the archives and tried to find what happened. What was the story? And apparently the Gestapo actually came into the Würzburg, the Jewish community, and there was a man there named Reuven Eschweg. I already know who he is. I actually know a lot about him. And he gives over to the Gestapo all the ritual objects that were in the stores, not that was in the synagogue, that was in the stores. And so the Gestapo takes it because they have a museum that they're going to create of the Jewish people who were about to, wipe out. And so we need, stuff to show, hey, this is the Jewish people. And so my little curtain is saved, which is just an incredible story. Reuven Eschweg, I keep researching, keep finding him. He actually left Germany in 1939. He gets to Washington Heights in New York. I actually have his address. It's insane. He becomes a chazan in a shul in Manhattan. Crazy story. So you might want to ask me a question.
Well, that is an amazing story in and of itself. Do you know if I know many of the treasures that the Nazis held were brought to Prague. Do you know where the curtain was in sort of, before it was gifted to you? Where did it actually arrive from?
Yeah. So yeah, also crazy story. So first of all, some of you, and if you haven't, you should see the movie, The Monuments Men, because this is a real cheer to the Americans, okay? The Americans came, obviously, they were in Germany. And in 1947, they were still there, they were collecting all the ritual objects. And there were like thousands and thousands of Torah crowns, Torah finials, Torah pointers, spice boxes. You see the pictures, you cannot believe it. Thousands and thousands of objects that they collected from all the different, because the Nazis collected it. So they had all these stores, and they brought it into different storehouses. And one of the storehouses was called Offenbach in Germany. And it's like literally piles of these textiles. And then, people, the year so, which was the Jewish restitution, they wanted to save these objects. At least they had the brain to think, wow, we have to save these things. And so people came from different parts of the world that had these institutions. In New York, they came from the Jewish Museum and from JTS, and they came to get these objects to save them. It wasn't gifted. It's an interesting word, gifted. It wasn't gifted. We were gifted to tell this story. We were saving these objects. And so in Israel, there was also a group that came under the leadership of a man named Narkis. They came and they brought these objects to Israel. Now, a lot of it went to the Israel Museum, which was then Bezalel. It wasn't Ein Harod. It wasn't the Israel Museum yet. They brought it there. And some of the things came to Ein Harod because, as we saw in the movie, Ein Harod was a museum that was around. And so this is how we got these objects. And I have to say, personally, today I'm living with so many Holocaust survivors, and they're little by little dying out. So I really feel this, major responsibility that, soon there are not going to be any of them left. The only things that are going to be left are these objects. And each of these objects tell a story. And so I move the baton on to my loving friend, Tanya.
Thanks, Devorah. Well, now you've had a bit of a taste of some of the treasures that are in our museum, in the Mishkan. Incredible artworks, incredible Judaica objects. But what then? What happens then? What is the purpose of having all of these incredible pieces of artwork? And the purpose, of course, is to create a connection with humans and between humans, to reflect on their past, to reflect on themselves, on each other. And that is my role at the museum, and really my honor and pleasure as one of the educators in the Mishkan. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the amazing educational and communal work that is happening here. So of course, it started a very long time ago with the founders of the museum. Just as they founded the museum in 1938, they really believed in creating a place for children, for future generations to come and dream and be inspired and be connected to their past. And that continues on to today, starting from the very youngest who come and crawl through the museum and really have the chance to grow up there. We believe that the museum is a place where a person can reflect on who they are, and artwork is a kind of mirror to yourself. And the Mishkan is a place that gives the opportunity to connect and to reflect. It's a place that is open to all. We very much believe in honoring the diversity of the Israeli society. We are a pluralistic institution, and art is a language that is spoken by everyone. So we are a place for people to connect with art and with one another. And we do this in a number of different ways. Part of it is through connecting to the artwork through your body. It's not just about your head. You need to be able to feel and experience the artwork. And today, in today's world where everything moves so fast and we're exposed to so many different noises and distractions, to be able to have a moment of quiet in a museum is a really rare and wonderful gift. Of course, a big part of the connection to the artwork that happens in the museum is connection to the past and building a sense of identity of who I am through learning these stories. So just as Devorah shared about the wonderful Torah curtain from Würzburg, Germany, here you see second graders who are learning about that Torah curtain, and then will be creating their own artwork inspired by their encounter. As I said, it starts at the youngest ages. We don't want museums to be a place for only people who can come and walk very quietly and be very proper. Of course, a certain amount of quiet, it's always a challenge for us, but it's a place for children to feel comfortable, to feel that they can roll around on the floor and explore and create their own. So it starts with the youngest. And then the children have the chance to really grow up in a museum setting. So here you're seeing some 3rd and 4th grade students just a few weeks ago who got to go behind the scenes at the museum and discover the restoration work that's happening there, ask questions, and feel really connected to the stories that we're telling. We try to allow the children to explore art with all of their senses, to have it be an experience that really feels real and touches them. So here we see dancers dancing in this space, yoga in this space. And of course, we learn in so many different ways. And we see often that students who maybe struggle in a traditional learning environment thrive in the museum because they can learn in a different way, in a different setting. They can lie down on the floor and look up at the ceiling and close their eyes. And we can learn history and literature and English language and so many other things in this setting. The interaction with art also has to be real. It has to be relevant. So we can have conversations about refugees, as Yaniv mentioned, the Max Fabian painting here, and what is happening today and what is our responsibility. So after we have those moments of reflection with the artwork, then we start to look outwards and we say, how can art be a tool to create change? We want the teenagers to feel connected to the artwork, okay? Teenagers who are today so involved in, of course, with Instagram and TikTok, and we want them to come into the museum and be able to talk about the artwork and feel that art can be a choice that they can make in their lives to create a real difference for their society. So here we have students, I believe 9th graders, who are exploring the current Abu Shakra exhibition, which Yaniv briefly mentioned, and we're going to be sharing more about in our next webinar. And here we have some young women who were recent immigrants from Ethiopia, and they came for a visit to the museum and chose pieces to connect with and to dress up with, and it created kind of conversation about their stories and their own immigration and how they related to the immigration that we see, again, the Max Fabian painting that Yaniv spoke about. So students in all different ways, in all different ages, connecting, having a real deep connection with the artwork, and feeling like they can express themselves, that they can share their fears, their hopes, and it's a place that will listen to whatever they want to share. We really aim to be a home for everyone, all different ages and all different backgrounds. Here you have some students who came this summer. They're from a special school for students on the autism spectrum. And we created a program for them to engage with the artwork in the way that was most right for them to be able to learn through creating in the exhibition space. And of course, creating art as well. The visit at the museum always begins with interacting with the artwork and then moves on to creating their own artwork, because we see how powerful that experience is for everyone. We work especially with different special needs groups and for youth at risk, and we allow them to express whatever it is they want to share. And we see how slowly, and often it's a process that takes time, they start to feel comfortable and to feel a sense of stability in the museum space, and that they can really share and open up and be heard. And that is a very, very powerful thing. Here you have an exhibition by high schoolers who had psychological trauma, And we created an exhibition of their artwork, and it was a very empowering, incredible experience for them to be able to bring their families to see the work that they created and give them this opportunity to share what it was that they were experiencing through art. Now, as Orit mentioned, the Mishkan is located in a region that's half Arab and half Jewish, and it is so important to us at the Mishkan that we're a place for connections. We're a place where people can come, where children can come at all different ages, encounter artwork and encounter one another. So a very big emphasis that we have is programs for children. Right now, we're working with a lot of 9 and 10-year-olds, Arab and Jewish, who are working together, creating art, meeting one another at the museum for the first time. And often they don't have a common language, right? They speak either Arabic or Hebrew. We work with translation, but we mainly work without language, without verbal language. We work through art. Art is a universal language. So the children are creating art together, creating art for one another, exploring in all different kinds of ways with using all of the senses, and connecting, giving a real human face to what is often thought of as other. And we see slowly the impact that has. It couldn't be more important today. Here, a two-sided drawing that a Jewish girl and Arab girl made for one another, and then they connected it together. And it's an experience that we really think will stick with them and give a human face, an experience that I think will be lasting. And today's very diverse society in Israel, it's not only Arab-Jewish connections that we're working on, but also religious and secular. So here you have a group of boys from a local Orthodox Chabad school who came to meet and create art together with children from a secular school. So many divides that we have in Israeli society. And we really believe that everything starts with the children and that art can be a tool for healing. So we have healing, we have connections, and we have artivism, artistic activism, creating art for change. We want the children and youth who encounter the museum and see the steps that artists are taking as an example to find ways that they can create art and envision a better world that they want. And it's not enough for us here just in the Israeli context, but we also want to share the amazing work that's happening at the museum and the museum's collection abroad. And so we have created a program called Zoom Art, which is really what you've experienced now. The virtual tour that I was taking you through is part of that program. And it's a program for students anywhere in the world to be able to experience the story of Israel and Jewish traditions, Hebrew language, artwork happening in all different aspects of Israeli society through a virtual experience involving an art workshop. So I'll give you just a little taste of that here. Here's what it looks like.
World.
All right, say hello, fifth graders.
Hi everyone, it's great to see you. This is Zoom Art, an interactive educational experience for learners of all ages through a virtual tour with a museum educator. And tell me what you think is painting.
A city. It's a mountain.
Participants gain insight into Israel's past and present.
Well, I'm going to stop you here. But know that it's something that we're bringing anywhere in the world. So I know we've got people listening in from all over, and anyone who's interested in bringing the experience to your community can definitely be in touch with us. So we really believe that the work we're doing is making a difference, and that the children will leave the doors of the Mishkan Museum knowing that they can make a change for the better. And of course, it doesn't stop here. We're very connected to our communities abroad, and we need our supporters abroad and our friends. And that brings me to my friend Wendy, the chair of the American Friends of the Mishkan Museum of Art. So Wendy, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Shalom to all. I am an absolute loyalist to the Mishkan Museum of Art. My goal is for that passion to be contagious. Why is this museum different from all other museums? The Mishkan Museum represents the polar opposite from what you are hearing, seeing on the news. It's buzzing with positive energy, record-breaking crowds due to our present retrospective, a collaboration of Arab and Jewish curators, educators, and visitors. Art is one of the most powerful tools in creating social change, breaking barriers, and creating dialogue. Our commitment to coexistence with our neighbors should be an example to all. Take us into your temples and introduce us to your local organizations for an in-depth window into our creative and bold initiatives. We welcome the opportunity of further introducing you to ourselves and welcome you through our doors. We invite you on our art and culture trip to Israel, April 30th to May 6th on behalf of the museum. A few spots are available, and we'd love to extend this great opportunity to the people on this call. Come and see some of the 15,000 Israeli children coming for our educational programs. Meet us. I promise you a relationship with the heart and the soul of Israel. Lehitraot. See you again.
Wendy, I love your take on the 4 questions and why this museum is different than any other museum. You, I know, are very excited to be joining this group, Mishlachat, this delegation that'll be coming to visit on April 30th. What can people expect who get to see the exhibit itself in person?
Great question, Wayne. Thank you. Our one-of-a-kind is a very much behind-the-scenes trip to Israel, April 30th to May 6th. We'll be delving into the present retrospective. We'll be going into the archives. Art is architecture. It's going into curators' homes. It's food. It's wine. It's the culture. It's dress. It's media. And there are many numerous ways to become part of our museum circle, visiting us and seeing us and feeling the energy. Becoming a museum member, joining our mailing list will keep all of you engaged with us and have a contact for private English guides. Supporting our initiatives with a gift would be the greatest gift and token of your friendship. Our links are posted here. I am your local contact for any further questions. And toda, thank you.
So we're putting up your contact information again for Wendy, and we'll send it out afterwards to everybody that's here. Please, if this sounds like, well, we know what it sounds like. This sounds like an amazing opportunity for art and culture lovers. So be in contact with Wendy if it's something that you'd like to consider joining as well. Tanya, you're the wizard who uses the digital arts both in person and in your Zoom art and in virtual settings like this one. So first of all, an acknowledgement for your digital artistry in making this presentation happen today. What are you seeing as museums are becoming a more comfortable and inviting place for the kind of kids groups that you showed, which ranged from kids with special needs, kids experience trauma, kids who are from different backgrounds? Why has a museum of art become a place of healing and a place of exploration and a place of community building in your terms?
Thanks, Wayne. Well, I think, first of all, there is there's a special environment in the museum. It's called the Mishkan. It means a kind of dwelling place. And it also comes from the biblical tabernacle, which was a holy setting. So it's a kind of holy place dedicated to the soul. It's a place dedicated to the soul. It's really incredible that when kibbutz members, who a kibbutz is a communal structure, wanted to build a place that was dedicated to the individual soul, place for reflection. So there's something in the environment, just of the structure, that when you enter, there's a kind of calm that I think is really missing for a lot of people today. Again, with all of the noise and all of the pace. So you said that I do the virtual digital technology, but if you come to see in the museum, it's actually kind of striking that we don't have a lot of virtual digital technology, and consciously so. It's a place that really slows you down. There's also something in the, if you were able to really appreciate it in the photos, but in the light and the way that light filters in, it is a special environment. And so that's one piece of it. Another piece is definitely our staff. Our staff is just dedicated to seeing every single individual, really wanting to know anyone who comes through our doors, you belong. You belong, and we're family, and you will find something here that you connect to. And if you don't the first time, then come back. And all of the students who go to school nearby know that if school isn't working out one day, there's a pass in the principal's office, and they can just come and they can just be there and kind of find that quiet. So I think it's a combination of all those things.
Well, I have to admit, it might have been shocking for some to see yoga mats or finger paints or some of the various medium that you're using to interact with people actually within the galleries, within the home, as it's become a place of Marlene called it very hands-on. So clearly, we could see that. I just love the picture of the blindfolded children being led by others, or the Ethiopian people reenacting, the children reenacting what they saw in the German refugee painting. And each of these, allowing different people to connect their own individual stories to the pieces of work. So really, congratulations on making this so accessible and so relevant. It seems to me beyond the traditional mission of the great art and cultural institutions. Yaniv, I wanted to come back to you about, as you described, the three different sort of gateways that you cover, which are, in some respects, there's overlap, right, between people interested in kibbutz art, Israeli art, and Jewish art, but there's also some very distinctly unique aspects of those three. And I'm wondering what that feels like when people come who are looking just for Jewish textiles and then suddenly are exposed to a much more broader expanse of modern contemporary art, or art that comes from a distinct place in Israeli history with kibbutz history. What happens when those audiences come to experience one sector but are exposed to all three?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne, because we had a wonderful presentation, but I want to put the focus on another perspective, which perhaps we didn't speak enough, the Mishkan Museum of Art. And it all starts with art. When we say art, it's not only the collection, it's not only history, it's also contemporary, the present, and looking forward. And most and all of the exhibitions we do are original. It's research, it's choosing the artists, the topics. It's always relevant, it's always actual, Israeli art, international art. I'll give you one example just to try and explain. 2 years ago, we made a huge exhibition. It was called Haim and Israeli Art. It was a combination of perhaps the most influential and important Jewish artist, Haim Atar, who never visited Israel. But when you make a research, and we made a research, you realize that Atar, who lived in Paris, influenced 3 generations of Israeli art. Now, this exhibition was followed with a huge catalog. Tens of thousands of people visited it, and we really made a statement. What I want to say is that all along the year, our exhibition schedule is very precise. We never make an exhibition just to make a check. It always have to be exceptional, meaningful, relevant, and by this, we gain the most high appreciation from the Israeli art scene, and not only, also professionals in Moscow, in New York, in Paris, who are in constant dialogue with them. So around the exhibitions, the content, everything else is happening. The educational department, the stories, kibbutz, art, the permanent display of the collection. So it's all the package, as Wendy likes to say.
Okay, we've got a bunch of questions and we've got about 4 minutes. So I'm going to ask just a couple of so just real short answers. We have alumni from your Openistim that are visiting. We have people that have visited the museum back in 1969. We have people that didn't even know about the museum. So it's really a robust group that's with us today. Devorah, there's a question about Mizrahi art. Do you have artists or materials that are also from other parts of the non-Ashkenazic?
And Devorah, please add about the Shiviti exhibition, our next exhibition with the Shiviti.
Yeah, so yes, we do. I think in the Judea, definitely the Israeli artists. I mean, it's you know, that is, you know, and in the Judaica collection, we have, let's say, a Chanukiah exhibition, which is 50% Mizrahi and 50% Ashkenazi. Really depends on how the things got to the museum. I think in all, we have probably more Ashkenazi ritual objects because we just had more, but we definitely have, you know, a lot of items, kameot and shivitis. And right now I'm doing an exhibition of shivitim, which are meditation plaques, where you can see a lot of plaques from different Mizrahi communities in Israel and outside of Israel as well.
Great. And a question about LGBTQ artists. Have any been represented in the museum now, or are there exhibits where people can?
We always do, but my exhibition right now has 2 LGBTs. To be correct, this second.
Part of the fabric of Israeli
in the Judaica.
society. In the Judaica section.
Yeah,
great.
But you'll never know who they are.
Orit, we've got about 2 minutes. We knew we couldn't do all this in one episode. Maybe you could just give a quick teaser for this very famous and why everybody is so excited that on April 2nd, we get back together again and see and learn about the exhibit that is currently and only for a few more weeks. So tell us why everybody should come back and join us April 2nd.
Well, I don't need to say anything else, and it was an incredible hour. It was terrific, and I think we made our introduction, and we've got plenty more to say and to show. You see, you heard about our vision, the combination of social, cultural, and educational bridge through the art. I think we convinced you. We plan to do the revolution, the art revolution. It's going to take out from the Mishkan, because art should and will be an integral part of every pupil kid. And we aim to educate the kids in Israel to be leaders based on the artivism methodology that Tanya mentioned. to make a difference and contribute to the community by finding a clear voice through the tools of art such as creativity and curiosity and thinking outside the box. And we started to plan design an educational wing that focused on artivism, which will include a studio with innovative lab. We also started a major renewal of our Judaica wing that is still waiting for naming in order to make it more appeal and relevant. And as Yaniv mentioned, we are curating multiple exciting exhibitions, and we'll focus the must to see Abu Shakra 2 months from ahead. Last but not least, Wayne, just one more minute. We wish to stretch our physical borders and serve the art lovers and Israeli fans living abroad, and to bring the Mishkan closer to you and to your communities. As for the example, we are now producing special traveling poster exhibition from our collection, together with our federation, for 10 communities in the US, to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Israel independence. And our Zoom Art project that you just witnessed with Tanya, which focused on Hebrew language and the Jewish holidays through art and artifacts, is being booked by K-12 schools all over the United States as we speak. So again, what more I can say? We invite you to join our family and start to rock and roll with us.
Thanks so much, Orit, to you and to your whole team that's with us today. We look forward to being back to see the Abu Shakran exhibit together on April 2nd. Indeed, we learned some new words and terms and new visions of what an art museum is capable of doing. I think artivism sounds pretty sticky and something that we want to explore further with everybody here. So however you're celebrating, everybody have a super Sunday, and come join us next week for our virtual tour of Haifa Part 2. We also couldn't do Haifa in one episode, so we'll be back with more, and stick with us on Sundays. And this past Wednesday, we went live from Turkey with the relief efforts that are happening now and the Israeli teams that are there. So stay tuned. We will keep you up to date on all these efforts. It's an interesting time. We hope everyone will stay safe.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.